Well, welcome, YouTube friends and family, to the weekend edition of the Wellness Homesteader. So it's really early. It's not 6 o'clock yet. And I am going to just share a couple things with you before we get into the activities for today. So, y'all, I'm excited. We have been, as has most of the U.S., unseasonably hot. And I'm just going to paint the barn while we talk. I used to have a music teacher that anytime she caught you so much as putting on chapstick, and this was like 7th grade, so middle school was what it was for me, and she would go up and write on the board, and she was left-handed and really, really short, so she'd have to reach way up to write on the board in the music room. Any old barn looks good in a fresh coat of paint. I mean, you did not apply your chapstick in that. She would call you out. It was so funny, but yeah, I can paint the barn now. So I'm excited about our weather. Today it's only supposed to be 76 and sunny. No real chance of rain. We did get some more rain yesterday, which was needed, not a ton, but, and I'll have to probably water today. I'll check the garden here shortly when I do the chicken chores. And then tomorrow it's only going to be 78 and same, sunny, low humidity. So we're really getting like mid-June weather, and well, I guess we're still mid-July. Today's I think the 18th. Y'all, I'm charging my Apple Watch and I'm lost without it. So, yeah, just a couple updates here. I had, for Thursday's video, I did a garden tour. And I meant to speak a little bit more about canning projects that are upcoming. So, I've kind of looked over what I'm going to get. And if I get a good harvest, and I think I will, of paste tomatoes, so either Amish paste or Romas, I am going to try to do some like pizza sauce, spaghetti sauce, and then the slicer tomatoes are pretty good in a chili or whatsoever, so that's probably what I will use them for. Another big thing, guys, I have got to get out and get some herbs harvested and freeze-dried. So the reason I have not done that, for those of you who don't have a freeze dryer, I have the hiccups. Guys, I'll hiccup for the rest of my life. I have a medium harvest right. Excuse me, oil-free pump freeze dryer. And it's indoors, it's in the pantry room. The problem is to run a cycle, even a shorter cycle, it generates a ton of heat, which means I have to put a fan in the window backwards to suck the heat out, but the benefit of the air conditioning isn't inside. So when the harvest right freeze dryer detects a high room temperature, everything slows down. It's kind of like, do ice cubes last longer in something insulated, indoors or outdoors? It's kind of that difference. So I have lots of stevia I want to get harvested before it starts going to seed. I have tons of basil. I have some rosemary, and my sage I don't think is going to be ready yet. One of the things I did was I put the sage with the basil, and it kind of got overcrowded. So if I harvest back some of that basil, I'm really hoping that it will start to mature. And I purchased a plant from our local garden center, and it's the weirdest kind of sage that I've ever grown. So if it's ready to be harvested, I will harvest it, but I don't think it will be. And I also think I'll fill up the freeze dryer, just with what I've stated already. So one of the things you can do, if you're not aware, if you have a harvest right and you haven't really kept up with it, the difference between the medium and the large has to do with the electrical voltage you have to have. So it's not 110. In other words, most plugs in the US are 110. A 220 would be something for like a freezer, a furnace, something that's going to have a big power draw. And trust me, the Harvest Right has a big power draw. So now Harvest Right has come out with a new insert that you can plug in. So instead of 4 trays, you would have 5. I personally, you all got to remember, I mean, I feed myself. Let's see if I can do this and talk. Isn't it funny the faces you make when you put on makeup? And I do share with neighbors, friends, family, my kiddo, you know. So it's okay to preserve more than what I'm going to use. However, I used to cook a lot for my mother, and now that my mother has passed, I did not go, and she didn't eat well. You know, it's been a year, but she didn't eat well the last 6 months of her life. So I'm kind of thinking I need to dial back on, you know, how much I'm preserving. So my big interest, I do want to do some green beans. I will do some tomatoes. I will try to cover up my dark circles. I freeze dried a bunch of cucumbers last year for like tzatziki sauce. I don't need any more cucumbers. So I'm really getting to the point where I can really start farming out. My sister lives in an apartment, and so she appreciates, you know, fresh produce as well. So, you know, I'll divest myself of some of it. I'm not really sure how the parsnips and kohlrabi, etc. are coming. I probably need to pull one of those today, but I gotta wait for the sun to come up to really tell what I'm doing. So I hope you'll come along today, share a little info about freeze drying, and then I wanted to ask y'all a question. And my face is less swollen today. I mean, I'm kind of jolly anyway because I'm old and my face sags, but how much food preservation and garden touring do y'all really want to see? I kind of tend to do the same thing year after year because that's what's occupying my time, but it doesn't mean I have to exclusively do that. So I've shown you some of my collections. Occasionally I will do a Throwback Thursday with either a story time or share vintage cookbook collections or my vintage pocketbooks or some of the different things that I have. Would you like to see any more collection videos? So one of the things that I do have enough of a collection to share a bit about, and I'm not going to do it right now, are these ceramic dust encrusted yeah, I don't see that flying around, no, poodles. And this is called a spaghetti poodle because the glaze looks like spaghetti. And some of them will have rhinestone eyes. See the little hook here? A lot of them had a chain with babies. So I do have quite a nice collection of that. So hit me up down below. Would you be interested in my poodle collection? Never owned a dog in my life. I just wanted the poodles. Or is there another type collection that you'd like to see? All right, guys, I'm going to go downstairs. I'm going to first put on my watch. Hopefully it's done charging. Go downstairs, get those girlies food and water done, and see what we're going to get into for today's video. I may film this over 2 days. We're going to see. So stay tuned. Before we head downstairs, I have to share this with you. I have never owned a pair of Crocs, and these are actually Bath and Body Works. So they were on some kind of a deal. I don't know, but they have all the little charms, which you could put more on, but it's all around their gingham perfume lotion, and I don't like the smell, but the shoes are darn cute. They feel kind of sloppy big, so I may have to turn this back and use it to hold them on, but that will usually give me a blister, and I'm not going to wear them in chicken poop. That's my goal for the day. All right, y'all, so I've just flipped the switch on the Harvest Right freeze dryer, and you would normally hit start. I just wanted to ensure there wasn't any problems with it because herbs don't take very long and they are really quick if you decide to pre-freeze them. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this back off since it booted up just fine. and maybe wipe those shelves down a little bit. But let's go see what my first herb harvest looks like. All right, y'all. So you can use any type of a shear, even a kitchen scissor. You just want them pretty sharp to harvest your herbs. I have looked and looked, and I just don't see any brand identification on these. Long ago, there used to be a monthly homesteading box, and these actually came in there. So they're very, very sharp. How many times have I cut my finger? And then you can keep them closed to store them in a drawer. These have been super helpful for me. So let me show you what I've got, y'all. I have a lot. So I did not harvest all of any of the herbs. I just cut them back, and I will have another batch. So y'all, this is about 2/3 of the stevia I grew. And I have tried chewing the leaf, and let me tell you what, it is quite sweet. So I don't think the stem is what we want. So there's a couple of philosophies you can use when you freeze dry. You can destem them after they are freeze dried, or you can destem them before and do that work up front. Which is easier? I don't know, because I've never harvested stevia, but I have my little shears. So I do not have the mats for my freeze drying trays. I simply use parchment paper. Works fine for me. I'm not freeze drying a lot of sticky gummy stuff because that usually means sugar. So there's tray number 1 and probably 2. Here's my basil. Now, I've done basil both ways, and I like to get the biggest stems off, but then I will clean it better when I go to store it. But again, you can pick them all off beforehand. And then, didn't have a whole lot of sage, but I got a ton of rosemary. Now, rosemary, I will tell you, far easier to remove it from the stem after it is freeze dried, because it will become very dry and very brittle. So in between each tray, I have these little spacers. Now I did get these, not from Harvest Right, from a YouTuber whose name escapes me, but you can buy them from Harvest Right, my word. And that just keeps your trays separated, especially if you have liquids. And this tray fits perfectly in the 1951 Philco freezer. The 4 of them stacked up. So let me get to prepping here. I know y'all know how to take herbs off of a stem, and I'll get them ready for the freezer. Now, I'm gonna let them freeze for a couple hours before I start the freeze dryer, but I will bring you back, show you what the trays look like ready for the freezer, how I do it. I'm sure there's a million ways to do it, y'all. And then once they're frozen, which won't take very long at all, I'll go ahead and put them into the freeze dryer. One thing to note, y'all, very important. Do not fill your freeze dryer with half frozen food, half non-frozen food. It all needs to be frozen or none of it frozen. So I will just freeze all 4 trays at once. And I'm so delighted that they all fit in the Philco at the same time. And I'm not playing Jenga in my deep freeze. All right, guys, I'll see you shortly. Just something real quick. Because this is my first time growing stevia, I wasn't sure. I know you can't eat the stems, it's the leaves. But if you just turn it upside down, they strip off clean like a dream. And I really think doing the prep ahead of time is gonna be far easier than when it's crumbly and you're getting stem and you really don't want stem. So another point that I meant to make, and I get chitty chatting, y'all, and I forget. You wanna harvest your herbs before the sun hits them in the morning. So get them early so they're at their, I will say, peak freshness. That's what I've always done. And you know, you can wash them, shake it off, roll it in a towel to dry it. But y'all, look how easy this is coming off. Like, I'm super excited about that. Y'all are gonna have to squeeze in though, because it's gonna be a tight fit. And I really like the clips. You can see them here. I've got 3 trays prepped, and honestly, I'd rather do it now before canning starts, and I'm so busy that I don't really want to fiddle with tiny herbs. Oops. Don't throw away the good stuff. Keep the stems. All right, guys, I'll see you shortly. All right, y'all. Here's our 4 trays locked together. I got a ton of stevia. And y'all, I bought 1 stevia plant, which was like $4.56, I think. Or maybe it was 4, I don't remember. But I've got so much of this left and I still have the growing season. So what am I gonna do with that? You may be like, why are you growing stevia? How do you use it? Once it's freeze-dried, you put it through like a high-powered blender, grind it up, and it's gonna be kind of greenish colored, but it will be stevia to use like in recipes or in beverages, whatsoever you like. So I'm gonna pop these in the freezer. Y'all see you in a couple hours or so. I don't know how long they'll take to freeze. They have a pretty high water content, so I'm thinking a couple hours. So I'll see you shortly. All right, y'all, we're frozen on our veg, but we have to pre-chill the center of this. So I'm gonna hit start and it's going to tell you, let me lock that close, to wait 15 minutes before you load the trays, and it will count your time down. Then there's a valve over here that I will have to close when I'm ready to put in the trays. So I'll bring you back. Good morning, y'all. Day 2. Pay no attention to the cat on the countertop. I'm not fighting him this morning. I'm still getting awake. So our freeze-dried herbs did very well. It did take quite a while. Oops. Somehow I have something up my sleeve. Not sure what that was. At midnight, it still wasn't finished. So it had finished sometime between midnight and 3 o'clock. I just left them in the freeze dryer. If you have a lot of humidity in your house, it can sort of rehydrate certain things, strawberries being one of them. But what I thought we would do is talk about some different ways, as I package these up, that you can keep your freeze-dried herbs, and why I freeze dry. Well, number 1, because I have a freeze dryer. Number 2, the taste is so good. It is so much more flavorful than what I can buy at the local grocery store. So let's see. My favorite way, depending on if I'm going to gift or not, is simply to put them into a jar, and then we're gonna vacuum seal it. You can also vacuum seal into bags. So a lot of times what I will do, just getting rid of some stems here, is I will reach out to my son and say, I have this, this, and this ready. What, if any, do you need? And then I will just, using the clear plastic bags, what am I in here for? A chopstick. I gotta quit filming so early, but I need to get this done. Okay, so here we go. And you can fully crush it if you prefer. You can run it through the blender, you know, whatever you want to do. Like when I do eggs, of course they get blended before they're freeze dried, but I break it apart and reblend it, and I think it makes such a good texture when I go to eat it. So even though freeze drying takes a little bit, and it does use electricity, yesterday was the perfect day, in all honesty, to do that because it wasn't so hot. So let me finish this one up. Push it down in there. One of the reasons I like to use a jar like this, like a pint jar, is I already know that I'm going to have more. And fairly easy to compress this. So I will have a quote-unquote 2024 herb set, and I still have some from 2023, but I love being able just to run out to the kitchen garden area that's on the deck and grab something. So I'm going to be using a 4 jars lid. I find, especially on items that I'm going to vacuum seal over and over, that the lid lasts the longest. I have this linked in the description box below. Guys, you can't beat these simple little handheld vacuum sealing things. Simply put it on. It is USB chargeable, and I will tell you one thing. If you're not getting a good seal, you have to make sure your rim is clean, but also if your battery is low, it won't seal. So, upside down. About 30 seconds is usually what it takes, and I want you to listen to what you get at the end, if this works. Did you hear the little pop? So it's kind of like when you're doing, so we are sealed. So this will get labeled and placed in my pantry. So let me get the rest of these redded up, and I'll be back for some final thoughts. Stay tuned. All right, y'all, that was pretty simple. So my stevia, I had quite a bit. I had to really crush it. Why am I not going ahead and powdering it? Because it's a long process, and I'll be doing more stevia in the days to come, weeks to come. So I will wait and powder it all at the same time. We got a little bit of sage, and I just label them like with what it is in the year. We have some really yum basil, and then I was able to remove the stems from the rosemary. So I am all set. Now, is this enough to last me a year? No, but I still have quite a bit that I will be freeze drying in the upcoming days. Y'all, I apologize. The dryer's spinning. It's Friday. I do laundry on Fridays. So let me know, guys, where are you with your gardens this year? What have you started preserving? You may notice over here I have a lot of tomatoes. I have some in front of me as well. So I'm going to need to get started on just some basic canning for what's coming on tomato-wise right now. I would like to do just a couple pint jars of the yellow tomatoes and see how does that, I love any kind of tomato, but these are early girls, yellows, lemon slicers, I think they're called. I kind of forget, to be honest with you, but they're not as acidic. So, you know, if you're having problems with heartburn or whatsoever, it's kind of nice to have an option of a less acidic tomato. Now, the only thing that has been, y'all, I have to show you this. The only thing ready on my red tomatoes are these strange looking things. I'm not sure what that is, but this side looks like a tomato, so definitely not my favorite. They're kind of, I'm sure this one's no good. Yeah, kind of all have that funky look, but that's okay because my girls will eat them, even if there's not really enough tomato meat, if you want to call it that, to actually make it worth my while to can it. I could juice them, and I haven't decided what all I'm going to make this year. I would love to make some original V8 juice. I do have a juicer, so I'm kind of thinking about that, but we shall see. All right, guys, I will see you all next week, hopefully on schedule. I do such a bad job with my schedule, y'all, and I apologize. I've just had quite a bit going on, and I will share with y'all. I hate to always come on and be like, poor me. My aunt passed away, and this was my aunt that was married to my dad's brother. So my dad was Verl, and his brother was Merle, and they had another brother, Earl, and I'm not making this up. But Aunt Reba was 91, and she had had some chronic health issues. But you know, we all don't stay here forever unless the Lord comes back and gets us. So they're going to not do a memorial service till September, and I'm really not sure why. But you know, everybody has their own way of doing things and their own way of honoring their loved ones' wishes. So you know, it's always sad to see her go. I feel for the family, and yeah, my thoughts and prayers are with her two sons and the grandkids, etc. All right, guys, see you on Saturday. Don't forget to smash the like button on the way out, and until I see you again, be healthy, be well, be blessed, and get to canning. Take care.